Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today is March 6, 2022, and Lightburn version 1.1 has just come out. And I've been waiting for this for a few weeks now to get into it and show you some of the new features. So stick around because we're going to cover them today right here in this video. Alright, so let's get started. This, as you can see up in the top here, is Lightburn version 1.1. And the first thing that we want to do today is cover backups. So on the laser tab on your devices, you may have several of these. If you have one laser, then it doesn't really matter, but I have 11. So in here you'll see are all of my different lasers. And when you switch from one laser to the other, you want to make sure that everything's backed up just in case something goes wrong. People have lost their settings in the past and had to redo them completely. Well, now, if we come up to the top left over here to the File menu, and we come down here to, look at that, Load Preferences Backup. Now, it used to be you would export your preferences every time you added a new laser, and this way you had a backup of it. But you know, sometimes you forget to do that. Well, now if I click on this Load Preferences Backup, you can see that Lightburn automatically makes 50 copies, keeps 50 running copies of your devices anytime there's a change or anytime you start the program. So you'll see that here today I opened the program at 9:32. I made some changes at 9:40, and you'll see they're all listed right here. And over here are my 11 devices. They're Gerbil, Marlin, Roida, and SmoothieWare devices, all listed in here, where it keeps a nice running backup of all of my settings. So if, for instance, something happened and you lost your settings, you could just come into here, pick the latest one, and then click Load right over here. Now we're not going to load it today because I know we already have the right settings. So let's cancel that and let me show you something else speaking about the settings of the laser that's really neat. So down here I have my library, and you'll see that it says OhmTech 50 watt. Well, if I switch to let me switch to the Atom Stack M40. Now it just switched, and look what happened here. It changed my library to the Atom Stack, and the A5 Pro is the library that I use for the M40. So now if I switch to the ortur LaserMaster 2, watch what happens here. Give it a second to load. Oh, I guess I didn't click on it. I'll do it again. There we go. Ortur LaserMaster 2. Now look what happened here. It loaded my library automatically, and this was something that you had to do manually before. You'd have to switch libraries. You'd have to load the new library down here for the laser that you were using. Now if I go to my let's go to my Comgo, the Z1, and now it says Comgo, and look what it says here, Comgo 5 watt. So it's automatically loaded. And now I'll switch again to the Monport CO2, and there it is, K40 loaded. So I'm really excited about this feature because I can't tell you how many times, you know, haven't switched the library to the current laser, and interesting enough, you know, I've gone to run some jobs and come down here and went to assign something to a layer, and it was just the wrong setting. So I really like that now. You know, we can jump into the different lasers and have the different libraries load automatically. So that's a great new feature all in itself, something that I'm really excited about. And I really like that feature. So now another feature is, let's say that you were to take some text. It doesn't matter what it is. We'll just type any text. And so now you're ready to burn your job. And maybe your laser is in your garage. and you have a laptop out there and you design it on your home computer in your home office. Well, now when you save this job to a flash drive or memory stick, and you come out and you see now this is a particular named text. So if we had something like this one here, distant galaxy, excuse me, that may not be on my other laptop. Well, it doesn't matter now because Lightburn is automatically going to save this particular font, or actually I should say it's going to save this particular text with the file. It's not going to save the font, but it's going to save the text. So it's going to appear to be the same when you get out to your garage and you plug in your memory stick and you load it on that computer. So even though that computer doesn't have the distant galaxy font, it's still going to load this font right here. And you will still be able to manipulate it in size, rotation and so on. You will not be able to, add or change the text, but you've already done that. That's not something, you finished your design. That's not something you're going to have to do on the other laptop anyway, because presumably that you're ready to burn it. So now you're also going to notice a couple of new handles in here. Do you see these handles right here? Got one right there, got one right here. These new handles are skew handles, or shear handles actually, is what it's called. I call it skew. Now you can shear your text now. Isn't that interesting? And you can shear in two directions. And this was something that took, 5 or 6 steps in the past. So you can still bend, but you can now bend and shear. And you can get some really interesting text effects with this. And also to complement that, if you come up here to the top left and grab the line tool, and you click and hold and drag, and then find a point that you want to get to, let go, and start moving the mouse. Look what happens. It bends the line. If I click again here, it's going to bend it again. Click again here, and I can come up to here, bend it again, click and hold, and if I hold, it'll shear it in both directions. And it is just an amazing little new tool that they came up with here that I really like, especially just a click and hold and drag, and then let go of the mouse wheel, click and hold again, and it shears in the opposite direction. Keep moving with the mouse unclicked. Click, hold, shear, click, hold, let go, click, hold, let go. You can draw really intricate shapes like this that you haven't been able to do before. And once you get used to it, it's really a lot of fun. So you can do like, Etch-a-Sketch type things with this. So let's go ahead and get rid of all that. Now, when you first open it, you're also going to notice there's a new toolbar here that pops up. And this toolbar has 2 new icons on it. You've got your rotary setup right here. If I click on that, and it's a instant pop-up, and you got your print and cut wizard, which starts right here. If you're not familiar with either of those functions, I've got videos on both of those if you go to my channel and search for them. So that's a great little feature to have. And you can reposition this anywhere you want. Now, I might want to put this right here on my left side toolbar because I have a large monitor and I can see all of my icons on here. You might want to put it in a different spot. You might want to put it up here, just out of the way. I think I'm going to put it over here, and I think I'm going to add the long arrange toolbar to that. So this one here, and this is the best arrange toolbar. This arrange toolbar is a limited version of it, so I'm just going to turn that one off, which is just arrange, See how we have arrange and arrange long? The arrange long has a few more features on it. So now I've got these, and actually I could probably put these up here. Put that up there, and I can put my this little guy, if I can grab it, put this little guy right up next to it. And now I'm taking up the same amount of space, but I have everything here that I need. And I like the longer range because it has more functions on it that you'll probably wind up using. Now notice also, over here, you've got your normal bold, italic, uppercase. But down here, way down in the bottom left, there are 4 new buttons down here. So if you were to draw something and select it, notice all of the handles that are around it. So if I didn't want to be able to size this, even though it's locked, it's only locked proportionately. If I didn't want to be able to size it, I could come down here to the bottom left, turn off the sizing, and you'll see that the sizing handles went away. So now if I grab this, there's nothing, I cannot resize it. I can still move it back and forth, but I can't, rotate it, but I can't size it. I can still skew it because I still have my skew controls. But if I wanted to, I can turn off the shear, or the skew as I call it. I can turn off the rotate down here in the bottom, and I can turn off the move, and it locks the item in place. Can't even be selected anymore. Now, yeah, I know that you're going to say that I could turn all these back on and just right click and hit lock selected shapes. But that, it's the same thing, but you get to control it better. So if you just wanted to turn off the shear, it's off now. So now you can't skew it anymore. I'll turn that back on. If you just wanted to turn off the rotate, which a lot of times, when I go to pick the corner, I hit the rotate by mistake. So you might want to turn that off. I don't know that I'll ever use any of these on the bottom, but they're there in case you want to use them. All right, so let's get rid of this. Now we also have a new menu up here called Laser Tools. See it up in the top? If we click on this, you'll see there's some new items in here. You have an interval test, a material test, and a center finder. And this is probably the one that most people are going to be interested in, is the material test. Because, if you watch my video on how to set one of these up, it does take a little while to do this. So let's click on that. And here's the generator. So in here, this is the vertical rows. So the rows that go up and down. How many rows do you want? So let's say we want 5 rows. What parameter do you want to use on the left side? Do you want to use speed? Do you want to use power? Do you want to use interval or passes? So let's just say speed for now. Minimum 10, maximum 300. You can set these numbers to whatever you want. So let's say maximum 1,000, minimum 10, height 5 millimeters, and let's preview it. And look at that. Isn't that interesting? We've got it right here. And you got your interval settings up here. So let's close that for a minute. And now over here are the horizontal columns, the columns that run left to right. And here we also have the same thing. How many rows? So let's say 10. The parameter, let's say power. You could change this if you wanted to. And then the minimum power, the maximum power, the width of the actual image itself, and the center. So let's preview that again. And if we zoom in just a little bit, you'll see now we have our speed. Over here we have our power from 10 to 100%. And you can set this up in just a couple minutes. You can also edit the text settings. So if you come in here, you can change the name, you can change the number of passes, you can change your kerf offset if you wanted to. Everything is changeable here. So this is the layer text settings. This is the material text setting, material settings. So again, you know, it brings you right up to the layer where you can change the name and things like that. And then you can start it directly from here. And again, you would always want to go to the preview, make sure it's what you're looking for, say OK, and then you'd frame it, and then you'd hit start. Now, for you diode users, the frame button has a new feature as well. In the past, you used to have to hold down the shift key to frame an item. You no longer have to do that. Now when you hit frame, it's going to automatically turn on your laser to the lowest power. So let's come to the Move tab over here on the right. And in the Move tab is going to be your fire button. And this is only for diode laser users. The CO2, you never want to have this enabled. If you don't see this fire button, you can come up here to your device settings and click on that. And right here it says Enable Laser Fire button. If you don't see that button, you have to tick this on and make it green. And once you've ticked it on and said OK, you'd need to restart Lightburn for it to appear over here. It doesn't appear automatically until you do a restart. So you'd close the program and then restart it. Now, one thing I like to do, you put the power on 1%. It doesn't matter if you put it on 0.25 or 0.50. The lowest power is going to be 1% that it's going to fire. If you put it at 2.25, it's still going to power at 1%. So just put 1% here, and that's all you need to do. So let's go back to our workbed over here, and let's come to the art library, and let me grab this picture of me and my wife here. And let me show you something new that wasn't here before. So if we wanted to crop this image, we can now draw a rectangle or a square on here, and let's just, for argument's sake, set that to line. And now we can drag over everything and apply the mask to the image. So we drag over both, right click, apply mask to image, and it now crops. It used to be you had to use a toolpath down on the bottom right. Now you don't need to do that anymore. You can use any layer, and you can crop your image that way. Sorry, I'm running a little, my computer's running a little bit slow today because I have about 35 programs open. And I'm probably going to need to do a restart soon. But anyway, so this is the new crop feature, what I call crop feature. And if we flatten this, you'll see it turns into one item. That wasn't here before. Like I said, you had to use more steps and use the tool paths to do this. Another thing too, let's get rid of this, is the offset tool is faster than it was before. Actually quite a bit faster. So as you'll notice this as you manipulate, that the offset is almost immediate now. So there are a lot of little improvements that you might not even realize are improvements. And let's pop over to the library and see that. Let's pass your mouse over one of these items. Look at that. New pop-up. And I love this feature because when I have my images in here, if I have a lot of them, let's go to holidays. See, there's a lot of them in here. I tend to put this down like this so I can look for an image. And it's kind of hard to see them, but I get a general idea what they look like. Well, now I can just mouse over, and it gives me the file name and a preview of the image. And I really like this new feature. It seems really simple, you know, simple things for simple minds, but it is a great new feature. A lot of, like I said, a lot of little things that you'll probably notice on your own that are incorporated into here that some of you may not even notice it. All right, so let's come back over to the library again. Let's go back to photos, and let's see, let's just grab any photo. It doesn't matter what it is. So here's a photo. There is also something new with the photo selected. If we come into the adjust image down here, right click and come to adjust image, you'll see now that there is some new controls in here as well. And it's right here, and it's called presets. So I can save something as a preset for the future use. So let's say that I was engraving this onto a anodized business card, just for argument's sake. And I put this on negative image, and let's say I just bring up the gamma a little bit, and I bring up the contrast, oh no, the other way with the contrast down a little bit, and the brightness just a little bit up, and then I want to enhance it and smooth it. And there we go. And that would make a really nice burn, right? So rather than having to do this every time, once I've gotten my settings dialed in, I can click on this save. And it asks me, what do I want to save? And so I'm going to call this business card. And I'll put an A after that for anodized. And what do I want to save? Well, I want to save everything pretty much. I'm going to leave everything checked in here, and I'm going to hit save. So now I've got that in my presets here. Now there's built-in preset, which is basic, and this basic is for black paint on white tile. So if you're doing a white tile painted black, you would just choose the basic right here, and it will load it and get it ready to burn right away. And you can make all of the presets that you want in here, and this is really a fantastic feature, because once you've dialed in something on your laser, and you know it's an image that you're burning, and let's say you're burning it on wood, you know, you dial it in here, everything works fine, come back to the preview, save it as a preset for that type of wood, and then you'll never have to worry about going through it slider by slider to get the perfect image that you want. I think that's a wonderful new feature. All right, back to the devices tab. So if we come into the devices, you can now right click on a device and duplicate it if you wanted to. Now you notice that I've got the ortur LaserMaster 2, the Pro 2, and I've also got the 7 and 15 watt. Well, let's say that I was going to add another ortur. I would just right click on this one, and there's a duplicate. So I'd be able to duplicate this, and everything would be already set in here. See all the measurements? Everything is already set, and I would just rename this here. And everything is already set for you. So you don't have to set the bed size or the type of connection or anything like that. You can just duplicate your existing connection if you're adding another Gerbil machine, let's say. Now there are all kinds of other bug fixes that have gone on in this software, but these are some of the major features that I wanted to discuss today. All right, so let's get into the last feature that I'm going to cover today, and that is the starting point. So let's put two primitive shapes on here. And I know a lot of people, they don't particularly like the way Lightburn controls starting points and the actual way that the laser burns. So now you can actually choose your own starting point. So if I were to select one of these primitive shapes here, and down here on the bottom left side, you're going to see Set Shape Starting Point. If I click on that icon, you'll see that there are 4 areas where you can start. This is where Lightburn is going to start this job. So it'll start here and finish here. If you wanted to, you could click over here on this one, and it would start here and finish here. So let's say we wanted it to start here, finish here, and let's come back to the selector tool, and let's move this one down here like that. And then we wanted it to go from here directly to here. All we would do is select this one, go to there, and click right there, and that's where it would start there. So let's take a look and see how that looks in the preview window. And let me move this to the middle. Now if I were to scrub all the way back to the beginning, you will see the start point is right where we put it. And now we'll finish here, and move directly to the next one. So now you have full control over your start and end points. And I know a lot of people, like I said, think that they'd rather control this than have Lightburn control it. So now you have that option. Now, I'm not covering all of the features today, but I just wanted to cover some of the main new features in version 1.1. Now, I didn't cover on that starting point, you could also shift click and it'll reverse the direction. So you also have directional change there as well. If you press shift and clicked, it would reverse the direction. So, and you know, a lot of people like to set them up. They may have 5 or 6 different objects and they want them to burn a different way than Lightburn's calculated path. I particularly like the way Lightburn sets up the path, and I don't have a problem with that. So there you go. These are all of the basic new functions that I thought were important to cover today in this quick tutorial. And even though it's not really a tutorial, it's just basically just covering the new functions. I'm going to be incorporating all of these new functions into my future videos like I always do. And we'll cover them, you know, one at a time so that it doesn't get confusing. I couldn't cover them all today, obviously. If you looked over at the laser tools, you'd see that there's also a focus test, an interval test, and the center finder. And a lot of people like that center finder because they work from the center of their workbed. So in other words, you may want to find the center of an object. I couldn't show you today because I don't actually have a laser turned on, but you could click one point on the center finder. It would bring up a dialog. It says click the first point. You click one point, then it said click the next point. Your laser would move there. Then you click the next point, your laser moves there. And then you click a third point and it calculates the dead center, where you could have the laser pointing right dead center of the workpiece, and then you can position your piece without having to frame it or anything else. And you know, a lot of people are going to like that feature. We'll cover that in one of the future videos. But like I said, today I just wanted to cover all of the basic new features that are out, and there are other features too. There's lots of bug fixes. Let me bring in the Lightburn window, and here is the actual documentation. And those that know me know that I read through all of the documentation, although it doesn't have instructions and they haven't launched any new videos, how-to videos yet. You know, most of us in the maker field are going to be doing the how-to videos, so just keep an eye out for those. If you're already subscribed, if you haven't hit the bell notification, hit the bell notification so you know when new videos are coming out. But in here you'll see the release. This is going to be talking about everything that I talked about today. Users with multiple lasers, backing up the test with the file, backup in browsers, the shear skew tool, the laser center finder, which is what I was just talking about a second ago, the material test generator. Everything is in here. And import text from SVG files. I didn't cover that one. So there'll be a lot of files that when you're importing an SVG, it won't import the text, or it used to not import the text with it, the actual font. Now it imports the text, but it doesn't import the, you know, the glyphs or the actual font itself, just the text in the original font shape. So it's kind of hard to explain. But the image adjust presets, the drag handle toggles down at the bottom. We've you know, covered most of this today, and then of course everything else. And in here, you'd want to read through all of these things. I'll put a link down below to this to show you how to, so you can get to it and read through it yourself. So that's about it. I want to send out a big thank you to Jason and the team over at Lightburn. And you know, these are a lot of the things. If you join the Lightburn forum or just go to their website, there's a link there where you can suggest suggestions for new features. Oh, and you know what? I didn't say what my favorite new feature was, and that is if we come up here to the device settings, and you look down here at the bottom. There's a new label down here, Enable Job Checklist. And if you tick this on and you come over here to the Edit button, you can enter whatever you want here as a reminder. Let's see, you could do something like air assist on, and if you have a CO2, water on, you know, you could do something like laser focused. You know, you could put whatever notes that you want in here, and before you start the job, and let's say we say okay to this and say okay again, when you hit that start button up in the top right here, that is going to pop up and remind you to turn things on. And I think that's one of my favorite things, and I accidentally showed that one in my last video when I was doing the logos. But yeah, that's got to be one of my favorites right there. So I want to thank Jason and the whole team at Lightburn for looking at those requests. You can actually put in a request for what you would like Lightburn to do. And if they get several people putting in the same request, that's where these updates come from. So, you know, I would highly recommend that you visit the Lightburn website regularly. You can visit their forums as well if you have any problems. And you can suggest new things to be incorporated into Lightburn. And that's how they develop these updates. And I got to say, 1.1 is probably the best by far so far. And for a software program that is virtually brand new, I mean, how old is it? It's less than, I think, less than 2 or 3 years old. Yeah, it's not that old. And you know, it's just amazing how many updates Jason has come out with, and the team, now that they've got several employees. It's amazing how many different updates that they've come out with, and the way that they support this software. If you ever have a problem, you can go to their forum, and you can open a ticket, not a ticket, you could start a new discussion there, and you can tell them what the problem is. And you're going to get either the owner, Jason, or one of the staff, one of the tech staff, are going to answer your question. And the only thing that I suggest is if you do that, put in as much detail as you can, because these guys are extremely busy. And, you know, I can feel the position that they're in, because I have to answer anywhere from about 100 to 150 emails, private messages, text messages every day. And I'm going to say that maybe 75% of them I can't answer because people aren't giving enough information. So when you ask someone for technical support and you want to get the problem resolved and you want to ensure that they're going to answer you, some of them they're not even going to answer because they don't even understand your question. So put in there, you know, what type of laser do you have? Is it a diode? Is it a CO2? Put in there what your power is. I have a 5-watt ortur laser master 2, and I'm trying to cut a circle, and the circle is not cutting perfectly, or whatever the problem is. Put that in the post, and take a screenshot or a couple of screenshots and add them to the post. And that's going to help them. You're going to find out, number one, they're going to reply really quickly to that, because they can look at it, scan over it, and see everything, know the answer. Whereas opposed to if you didn't put that information in there, it's going to be a back and forth Q&A. And you don't want that. You want them to be able to give you a clear and concise, put in a clear and concise question and get a clear and concise answer. So whenever you're asking questions anywhere, whether it's their forum, my forum, Facebook groups, whatever it might be, put in as much information and pictures as you can so that you can ensure that you're going to get a good answer. And they will answer all questions if they have enough information on it. And, you know, you might get an answer saying, well, you know, we need more information. And, you know, I would just start off by providing all that information in the first place. But yeah, I'm completely happy with version 1.1. If you have any problems, you know, with the software. Don't post on the internet. I upgraded to 1.1 and my computer crashed, because that's just not going to happen. I've got it on 4 computers now. On this one, I've got it on the CO2 laptop. I've got it on 2 other machines in the wood shop, and those 2 machines are old. Let me tell you, one of them's only got 4 megabytes of memory, a very small hard drive, and you know, these things are very well beta tested. I can tell you, I've had 1.1 for a while now, and this was in beta for a long time. So it's beta tested by a select group of people, and we find the problems before Lightburn actually launches the update. So don't go posting that, you know, I upgraded to Lightburn and it crashed my computer, because that's just not true. It's always user error. It's always a problem with the user's computer. It's never a problem with the software itself. And if it is a problem with the software, it's always found in the beta release that we test. So, you know, try and say, you know, I loaded Lightburn and I'm having a problem. You know, don't blame it on the software, because it's just not the software. So anyway, this is a great new version. I tried to cover as much as I could without getting into too many details, because like I said, I'm going to be covering this in future videos, maybe 1 or 2 features at a time. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.